Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Habibti Sarura, you asked about a couple of questions in this passage. The first question that you asked about was number 9. Number 9, it says, which of the following best describes the Bennett family's feelings towards Mr. Dracy after the events of the evening? So after the events of the evening means that it's going to be towards the end of the passage. And towards the end of the passage, everybody doesn't like Mr. Bennett. Okay, nobody likes him anymore. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So here we see Bismillah, that he starts to that people start not to like him. All right. Bismillah. His character was decided. He was the proudest, most disagreeable man in the world, and everybody hoped that he would never come there again. Amongst the most violent against him was Mrs. Bennett, whose dislike of his general behavior was sharpened into particular resentment by his having slighted means that he insulted one of her daughters. Okay, so that means that people don't like him anymore. And so that's why for number 9, your answer here is going to be A. They feel repulsed and reject his presence. All right. They do care, they do think about him, so it's not unconcerned. They are welcoming and accepting of him. They don't, that's the opposite of the correct answer. They display feelings of admiration. That's at the beginning, not after the events. Okay, so that's number 9. Your first question was number 1. In number 1, it says the primary purpose of the passage is to, when you go to the passage, you'll see that there's a lot of comparisons between Mr. Bingley and Mr. Dracy. So you have Mr. Bingley being described and Mr. Hurst being described, and then Mr. Dracy. And then people, they describe him, and then they start to compare what he's like. Okay, Mr. Bingley, he was looked at with great admiration, and then afterwards, people, they decided that he was disagreeable and that they didn't like him. Mr. Bingley was kaza, but then Mr. Dracy was kaza. So we're comparing the two characters, and so that's why your answer is C. Distinguish between Mr. Bingley's and Mr. Dracy's personality. We're not introducing the Bennett family and their relationship to Mr. Bingley. That's only in just a couple of lines, but most of the passage is talking about the comparison between Mr. Bingley and Mr. Dracy. Even in the explanation, they'll give you a lot of line references that show that they're where this comparison is. Okay. Okay, that's number 1. Number 9, and then بعد كده number 16. In number 16, it says it can most reasonably be inferred from the passage that use the process of elimination. You can eliminate all the other answers. Judges swear in court because of a new law that is removed from anything ancient. Bilaks, this is something that's being that judges have always done. If you go back to the passage, you will find that in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It will tell you that judges have always done that. The judge swears that he will execute justice according to law, and this is something that has always been the role of judges. Okay, the next one, suretyship is no longer practiced in any form. On the contrary, in the passage, it is still practiced, but a little bit differently. And if you read through the passage, you'll find that he says that it is practiced, but in a different form. Okay, you'll find it in the passage. And number 16, only English customs are still preserved. Bilaks, some are preserved and some have been modified. All right. Most of them have been vanished, but some of them are preserved, and you'll find that in the last paragraph. Okay. Bismillah. Also, if you look at the answer choices, you'll find that there are a lot of extreme language. Only, no, all right, new. So this is extreme language. All right, here your answer is going to be A. Modern laws still hold large remnants of ancient laws. Yani they still have build on some of the remains of ancient laws. You'll find that in the last paragraph. It says that English customs which have been preserved to us are somewhat more advanced, but they are there are a lot of laws that are preserved, and the liability was still conceived in the same way as when the bail actually put his own body into the power of the party secured. So you can see that there are remains of ancient laws, and they're still being applied right now. Okay, that's number 16. Number 24 says, according to the passage, the role mineral matter as a natural salt plays in the body can best be described in the very first paragraph, the very first lines. Mineral matter is quite as necessary for plant as for animal life. So it's very, very important. So that's why your answer here is beneficial. Okay. And finally, number 30, for number 30, it says compared to passage 1 and passage 2 is, I disagree with this answer. Passage 2 is didactic. It's teaching. Didactic means that it is instructive, instructional, educational. All right. So passage 2, he says that it's that was number 30. It's less didactic. In the explanation, he says it is intended to teach the process of distillation. So how can it be less didactic when it's intending to teach the process? So I think that this is wrong. All right. Thank you for your questions.